Hello and welcome to another IELTS essay correction video. You can find a link to this article below this YouTube video. It will direct you to my website and you can go to this answer over there as well. The purpose of this video is to discuss some of the mistakes the student has made, and the first one here is that of parallelism. Though I have discussed parallelism in a number of essay corrections as well as dedicated videos on that. The student has made several mistakes over here, and let me go through them quickly. The first mistake is over here. If you go to my website, you can click on this link. This is in fact a link, and this will direct you to an article that will explain parallelism in great detail. So parallelism is basically similar structure of sentences or clauses or parts of sentences. In this case, the similar structure should have been around and. Okay, so it's X and Y. And X as well as Y should be parallel. That is, the first word of X and the first word of Y should belong to the same category. If this is a pronoun, if this is, an article, this should be an article. If this is a verb, the first word of X is verb, the first word of Y should be verb. So the student over here writes, definitely gives an insight into highly humid climate. So it gives an insight into two things. Insight into number one, highly humid climate, and number two, the flora and fauna that are found in such environments. The problem here is that highly, the first word of X is an adjective, and the first word of Y is an article. So these are not matching. I have tried to change it, remove highly, and add diverse over here. So high into humid climate and diverse flora and fauna. So both these are adjectives, and this completes parallelism issue. Similarly, over here, there's another parallelism issue over here, both X and Y. There's again an and over here. So this is again the same category, X and Y. So problem here is, let me go through it. On the flip side, exploration of such isolated areas is dangerous for both humans and nature. Now, student had written for over here. So while X is for humans, Y is just nature. So the problem here is there is a preposition over here while there's no preposition over here. The right structure is either right for outside, so both humans and nature, these are nouns, or right both for humans and for nature. Okay, so for humans and for nature, this is parallel. Okay, the student has made a third parallelism mistake over here, and in order to rectify that, I have added the before all of them. The falling, the biting, the adverse. So this is parallel. You can go through this mistake in detail. If there are any questions, drop a message in the comments box below, and I'll be happy to respond to that. The student has done some really good job. Let me change the color over here. Yeah, this one seems good. In following the right structure. So there should be structurally an idea 1 followed by an explanation 1, then an idea 2 and an explanation 2. So let us look at the body paragraph 1, in which the student has discussed what are the benefits, what are the advantages of this development. Over here, the first sentence begins with the idea. This is an idea. Read carefully. The idea 1 is to travel to remote locations, destinations, make it possible to explore and appreciate the nature as well as habitats therein. So the following sentence should explain what exactly do you mean by exploration and appreciation. The student continues here. Here the explanation begins. Explanation 1. Travel to the Amazon forest, for instance, definitely gives an insight into, the humid climate, flora, fauna found in such environments. So it is, of course, um, addressing the exploration issue, which is fine. And the thing I particularly like about it is the Amazon rainforest. So this is not general, this is specific. This is specific information which corroborates your idea, and this is very well written. Could have been more explained, however, this is fine, just fine. And then the student begins with the next idea, idea number 2. Let me change the color here. This is idea number 2. In addition, the student writes 2 simple sentences. Scientific studies can be done on such virgin locations. What do you mean by scientific studies? So in the next sentence, he explains these studies could possibly help us in understanding the planet we live in. So the idea is this. The idea is fine. However, these are 2 simple sentences and could have been easily clubbed using which. So the question in the first sentence is scientific studies. Which scientific studies? Those scientific studies that help us understand the planet. So scientific studies which help in understanding Earth better can be done on such virgin locations. Then continue with the scientific studies. So here the student explains the ice layer in the Arctic and the carbon dating. So this is again very specific and very well explained indeed. So 2 ideas, idea 1, idea 2, 2 explanations, explanation 1, explanation 2, with some names sprinkled like icing on the cake, and this seems just fine. Now let us move to the other dimension. Let us check with body paragraph 2. This is body paragraph 2, which should discuss the disadvantages. Now the student here has written 3 ideas. Idea 1 is over here, begins from here to here. Idea 2 begins from here, and this is idea 2, and idea 3 in addition. Now there are certain issues in this paragraph. Number 1, let us proceed one by one. The idea 1 is clearly mentioned that this is dangerous for humans as well as nature, and this is well explained in fact. So there are hundreds of lives claimed by harsh environment, and many people die due to various circumstances, and very well explaining those circumstances. Of course there are parallelism issues which I've discussed earlier, but this idea is very well covered. This is just fine. The problem begins with idea number 2. Here the people also create litter wherever they go. So in this part you will realize that there is no mention of remote natural environment. And what are the disadvantages of exploring remote natural environments? Does it lead to some extinction of species due to human pollution? There is no mention of that. So what are the disadvantages if humans explore these areas? So that is not clearly mentioned. The context is missing. The context is missing over here. That is why I've written over here an example of how it could be structured. For instance, moreover, humans have a tendency to pollute the environment they occupy, and remote virgin areas such as Himalayas are facing extinction of numerous animal species due to pollution. You may not name the species, there's no need, but there is a remote natural environment and there is pollution. As a consequence, the disadvantages is loss of numerous animal species. So this is the way the idea should have been addressed, and this is called logically building an argument. While the previous idea has been logically built and explained, and even these ideas were logically built and explained, this idea is somewhat lacking. Perhaps you were close to closing the answer and you proceeded really fast. In addition, visiting remote natural places requires a lot of investment, and this investment could have been invested in more beneficial places. This is fine, however, the idea is not as strong. The idea number 3 is not as strong since it is not a disadvantage. So what is the disadvantage? What is the disadvantage for investing of going to remote places? This is more seems like an opportunity cost. Had I not been a teacher, I would have become a doctor. So that is not a disadvantage of being a teacher. That is basically an opportunity cost. I could have become a doctor. I could have become, Barack Obama. I could have become president. So um, this is the opportunity cost, not the disadvantage. So this was my take on this answer. I hope you liked the video. Subscribe it, share it, and keep coming back for more exciting stuff.